Jungle.
Hello, you are listening to Trump Republic Radio. It is December 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Enzo Quesada, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Bobby Hester.
Hello, everyone.
And this week, we got on another midweek. We just actually did an interview yesterday with Karen Smith that went out very well. We have another interview today, and that is with Pawl Bazile of Proud Boys Magazine.
Yo, hail Satan!
So, Paul, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Who are we talking to?
I am the production director of Proud Boys Magazine. I basically run all the creative content for Proud Boys Magazine. Proud Boys Magazine is the official magazine of the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys are a politically incorrect men's social club. We're Western chauvinists who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world.
And we might as well get the most important question that we have out of the way, and that is, what does Uhuru mean?
Oh, Uhuru is Swahili for liberty.
Oh, okay.
Liberty.
Yeah.
We had no idea, but we had people asking us, what does it mean? So we
Yeah.
wanted to
Well,
find
what
out.
happened is there's a guy who, oh man, I forget his name, and I forget the name of his silly little organization he has, but he thinks he's like some 19-year-old, he seems like, young black kid, and he's very militant and very socialist, and he's always yelling things in, and he's very gay too, so he's always yelling things in Swahili. Like, he'll just open with being like, "Quave y'all," and like do the whole thing, and then he'll end with going, "All right, Uhuru, right?" And we started adopting Uhuru because what does that even mean? And then we went, oh, it means liberty in Swahili. Liberty's good. I like liberty. So we'll start saying Uhuru because it annoys one guy.
Yeah, because I guess our only experience with Proud Boys at large, I mean, we know multiple people in the organization, but
Nice.
we're at the 1776 march in Austin, Texas, and there was a lot of people in Proud Boys there, and it was just very strange to see like 35, 40 people like yelling at Uhuru. But it was fun.
The best thing is, did you happen to see the NBC piece that they did on us recently?
No, I didn't
no.
see it.
Recently, NBC did a piece on us, okay? And everyone thought it was going to be a hit piece. They all thought it was inevitable. I organized the whole thing, and I got Gavin involved, and then I got actually the Dallas-Fort Worth Proud Boys involved. So they went down there, and they did their thing. And then it went so well and so wasn't a hit piece that every liberal's head exploded all over the country who saw it, because they were like, "Oh my God, they look cool. You're normalizing them. They seem awesome, and they just barbecue and play poker." Yeah. And it's like, because go figure, that's what we do. So one of the guys, because they were saying Uhuru, Uhuru, one of the guys in the comments were like, "These guys are a bunch of assholes. They're a bunch of idiots, and a bunch of this and a bunch of that. And what the fuck is Ruru?" And so now some of the Proud Boys, when you see them, will say Ruru, just because one dude commented Ruru because he couldn't understand what the fuck we were saying. So now Ruru is another calling card, whatever you call it, of the Proud Boys.
That's some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So Proud Boys was started by Gavin McInnes, wasn't it? How long has this organization been around?
Coming on. Is it gonna be 2 fucking years? It can't be. It was, it might be, because it was before the election. I think he started it last February or March, something like that. Or no, because last February or March, Trump was president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be coming on 2 years now. Yeah, he started it on his show on Compound Media.
Because, even though it's only been around for 2 years, I mean, because of all the stuff that y'all do, I mean, the word gets around very quickly about the group. I remember seeing, because we had Hurricane Harvey here in Texas, there's a lot of people in the Proud Boys that was going out and helping with the relief stuff out there, and it's really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, well, I can't thank you personally, but on behalf of the guys who went out and helped out, certainly. I mean, yeah, because at the end of the day, the guys, as much as we love having fun, and we do, at the end of the day, it's people who care about their community and care about the world that they fucking live in, you know? And we really, this organization is so tongue-in-cheek, it's unbelievable. We try not to take ourselves too seriously, but when it comes to something like Harvey or Irma, was it, in Florida?
Yeah, Irma hit Florida, yeah.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's like, well, people need help, and, you know, we got a bunch of dudes, and, you know, they'll hop in a dinghy and they'll go down to Houston, or they'll go down to Miami, or I don't even know where the worst of it exactly in Florida, but southern Florida, and they'll go and pull some people out of the water who need pulling out of the water, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
Houston got real messed up, so anyone that was willing to help out, it's good stuff. But
yeah, and we got shit for that too, by the way, because God forbid of course we did. The first thing that was written about it was because you saw there was a picture of the Houston guys, and they were posing, and some of them had guns with them. Go figure. In Texas, a bunch of guys had guns. And they said they called us looting patrol. They said they're out doing looting patrols with shotguns, and I'm going, oh. No one ever said looting patrol. They said, somebody may have said something like, yeah, looters, watch out, because they had guns and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, looting's a problem. They weren't there to just stop looters, but I'm talking like I've talked to people who've written for Huffington Post. I've talked to people who've written for all sorts of publications, and when you bring up Houston, the only thing they want to talk about is, so were you doing a looting patrol? And we could say, well, if there were looters there, we probably would have deterred that one way or the other, but needless to say, we didn't run into any, so we were doing soft rescues in the water and stuff like that. They don't report on soft rescues in the water and say, Proud Boys confirmed they were doing looting patrol. It's like,
yeah.
It's almost
not
like,
that.
Were you there to make sandwiches? It's like, well, we weren't there to make sandwiches, but we may have made a sandwich or two when we were there. So the Proud Boys came to Houston to make sandwiches. It's like, did we? All right.
Not that even stopping looters would be a bad thing. I mean, it's a big problem during disasters like this.
It's a tremendous problem. I have a cousin who's in the Coast Guard, and he was telling me the horror stories from Houston of, not as bad as Katrina, but it's like people absolutely are shooting at rescue vehicles and stuff like that, shooting at choppers, shooting at people on boats because they want to be able to stay there and loot. And I'm sure that if you stopped some people from looting, the people who actually own the shit that's in the house being looted would be somewhat grateful to you. So, you know, I don't know how much looting there was in Texas, and I heard, yeah, of course there was some, because unfortunately, with shit like hurricanes and disasters where the whole area is evacuated, there's always something. But, yeah, that wasn't really a problem for us, and it really wasn't the priority. The priority was to get food and water and some supplies down to the people down there, and if need be, do soft rescues, which they ended up getting in a stupid speedboat that one of the guys had, and they ended up doing, and did a pretty damn good job of it, if I do say so myself.
No, we thank you for all the help that you guys did, because honestly, when it hit Houston, there was tons of different groups of people all across the state who went down there, and you know, we have the utmost respect for every single group that did that. So thank you.
You know where I was wondering? I was wondering where Antifa was, because anytime somebody says words that they don't like, they're able to bus in people and get about 10,000 people in one place at one time to talk about how much they care and how much they give a shit and how wonderful and what virtuous, good, amazing, beautiful, oh my God, humble, amazing people who just care about people. And that's why they want to take your money, because they care about people so much they're going to rob you because they're giving it to the poor. And they didn't show up in Houston where the poor were that day, where the downtrodden were that day, and where the people who actually needed their help were that day. And then they had a second opportunity to go, you know what, we fucked up. Let's reorganize and do it in Miami, because I would have welcomed Antifa or any group. I don't give a shit who you voted for if you show up and help people who need help. And I didn't see hide nor hair of any of those groups.
Yeah. I mean, Houston Antifa, it's probably one of the more pathetic Antifas in the state. Austin's the one you need to worry about, but I don't know, they didn't really organize too good an effort out there. But one thing I wanted to...
I'd sneeze on them and they'd fall over. They're hilarious.
Yeah, but one thing I wanted to ask you about is Western chauvinism. What is that? You know, you're always saying West is the best. Why is it the best?
Western culture is the best culture because it's the culture of ideas. Western chauvinism, the word chauvinistic is usually attached to something negative, but it doesn't mean something inherently negative. It usually means to have a jealous affinity for. Like, for example, the word radical. If I say radical terrorism or something like that, that means bad. But if you say, I'm a radical book reader. I radically read books. I read 3 books a day. It's a good thing. Same thing with chauvinism. The problem is because people are so used to hearing it in the phrase male chauvinist pig, they automatically think it means that we're Western evil people or the Western baddies. We're not. Western culture, as I understand it, the first culture ever that was the culture that wasn't about a race, wasn't about a religion, wasn't about a people who considered them a people, but a culture of ideas where you could come from anywhere and no matter what your background or religion or whatever was, the whole deal was let the best idea win. That started in 1776, as far as I'm concerned, with the Declaration of Independence, and then it branched out to other more developed countries as time went on. First country that went into it was France, and they took our ideas and had a French Revolution over the whole concept of, why are we just have some guy who inherited his leadership position? Why not, have a more free market, free speech, free marketplace of ideas, capitalistic type society? So that's how I see Western culture, and that's how I understand it, and that's how the Proud Boys understand it, from what I understand.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Western chauvinism isn't something about race, and I know the Proud Boys are often smeared as white nationalists, but y'all accept anyone as long as they adhere to Western, values. There's absolutely no acknowledgement in the Proud Boys if somebody's race, religion, or background is different than anything else. It's about ideas. It's about what kind of man you are. It's about what kind of person you are. No one could give a fuck where you came from or what the color of your skin is, what God I think is or is not there. Most of all, myself. We get smeared for a very good reason, because we're effective. And we put a name on the thing that we're doing. Like, you could call yourselves Trump supporters. That's great. And people call Trump supporters racist too, by the way. But if you said, we're not the Trump supporters, we're the pink squirrels or something, I'm sure that's taken. So don't try and buy the domain. I'm already on it. But you could call yourself a thing. And once you call yourself a thing and then add the caveat, oh, and by the way, we're also not liberal, we're conservative. Suddenly now they go, the only reason they must have formed a group is to do horrible things to black people. And then you go, we have black people in the group. We love black people. A lot of the guys who lead the Proud Boys are guys like Talib Starks and Yosef and like people like that who are black as the pitch. Yosef is so black when he gets out of his car, his oil light goes on. But his blackness, because he's not liberal, groups, leftist groups and college campus groups and radical protesting groups and whatnot, basically go, well, you're not even really black. It's like, really? He likes Trump so much he doesn't even get to be black anymore?
He's an Uncle Tom.
And then they call, but that's the thing, because they're literally only judging him by race and not by his ideas. Because at one hand, they sit there and go, well, we want black people to say and express anything they want. Okay, cool. Well, here's a guy saying anything he wants. Oh, well, not that. Not him. He doesn't even count. You know what? He's not even black. He's living in the white man's world. I'm like, he's a black Orthodox Jew with a Chinese wife. Who's more diverse than him? I don't know. Maybe if he was also gay? I don't know. But it's like, they don't care about his rights. They don't care about his ideas. They don't care about his freedoms, because he would use his freedom tomorrow to just say, let me debate you and shut you the fuck up because you have no idea what you're doing when it comes to, let's say, taxes or free speech or pretty much every idea in every category that they have seems to end up being the dumbest fucking thing ever. And he has to turn in his black card. You don't count. That's the craziest and most racist thing ever. I don't like to look at people like their checklists. I like to think of people as people. And I truly don't give a shit what color somebody is. I give a shit what that individual has to say, because the biggest minority in the world is the individual.
Yeah. It's funny when you mention, like, extremely diverse people are actually, like, very swayed to, supporting Trump, because one of our closest friends, he's Asian, he's an immigrant from the Philippines, he's gay, and he's a former veteran in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he's double minority, he's apparently the most oppressed person in the world, even though he doesn't see it that way.
Right.
And, people can't handle that he's just right-wing.
Right. Well, like, if I ever have black kids, the only thing I would say to them over and over is, you're not a victim. Go out and do whatever the fuck you want. Nobody hurt you. Nobody victimized you. You don't feel the pain of your ancestors from 10,000 years ago. I don't, so you don't. You're not different or special than me. And you're going to have problems like everybody else. And there's going to be people who don't like you if you're different. Because no matter what, if you're fat, people are going to call you fat. If you're tall, they're going to call you tall. And if you're the only black kid in class, some mean asshole might call you a fucking horrible word, or who knows what you'll go through. Are you really going to define the rest of your life by what a 14-year-old called you? Are you really going to define the rest of your life over, some... Because I couldn't imagine a brilliantly smart person saying horrible racial stuff to people. Are you really going to define the rest of your life over what some idiot thinks? Like, that's the whole thing. It's how I was raised, like the sticks and stones shit. That is out the window now. There's no such thing as sticks and stones. It's, oh my God, like if somebody makes fun of you, he's purporting violence on him. I'm like, what? If I had a black son, I would absolutely, and I might one day, who knows? And I would absolutely tell that kid, you are fucking as brilliant as you want to be. The only person standing in your own way is you. Get out there and fucking take it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're oppressed or you're a victim, because you're not. So don't whine, don't bitch, and get out there and do something because you can, because you're smart. You're a cool kid. Show the world how cool you could be.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a radical idea. By the way, and that's the kind of shit that puts the racist label on Proud Boys, which to me is psychotic.
Yeah, the culture's changed so quickly, in the last couple of years. But it's funny, if you're on the right, they've made it now like your speech is violence, and then the violence of Antifa is just their speech. And then you have the media running cover for these people, and it's just insane, the clown world that we live in now. Yep.
Read Orwell, man. Read 1984. It's called Double Think and Double Speak, where they'll sit there 1 minute and they'll throw a brick at your face and say, that's just my speech. And if you sit there and say, I think the roads should be privatized, they'll go, that's violence on poor people. And you go, why? Privatized, that means rich people are going to own it. If rich people own it, that means they're going to make money. If rich people make money, that means they're going to make poor people poorer. And you go, well, no, actually, if you know anything about the economy, read one book on it. Read one book on anything you want to argue about. I don't lose arguments, and it's because I don't argue unless I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, if I truly just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I don't get into it. If you want to talk to me about, like, planetary wobble or something, I'm probably not going to be very good at that, so I'm not going to argue and go, no, it ain't. Like, these people have been taught they've been taught to memorize 4 fucking things about, like, let's say, gender or something like that. And then they go out and just rehash the same shit other people are saying, and they're doing it in an environment where they never heard the counter-argument. So their counter-argument is this cartoonish thing like gender, for example. These people just go, well, you are what you are and fuck you. No, that's not what we're saying. We're common sense people. We're actually science-minded when it comes to stuff like this. We're science-minded most of the time. All I give a fuck about is what works and what doesn't work. I don't give a fuck what team it's supposed to be on, conservative or liberal or anything like that. That's the difference to me between the left and the right. The right only cares about, does this idea work or does this idea not work? And despite what it makes people feel like, and all the left cares about is your feelings.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you've gotten to do that are special in the Proud Boys? I was looking up you, and you gave a speech at your anti-Sharia thing, and you also headed out to Islamberg or whatever?
Islamberg, that's right. Yeah, well, the speech I gave, that was with Pax Hart's organization. Pax is a great guy. He makes appearances on CNN all the time. And actually, the reason I spoke wasn't because I'm such a good fucking speaker. The reason I spoke that day was because a lot of people didn't want to speak because they were afraid of what was going to happen to them, whether they lost their jobs or whether they got physically hurt. People, I mean, when I said, and Pax was like, dude, I have speakers dropping left and right. And I said, well, just put me on, man. Like, that's not my thing. I don't go to rallies and want to give speeches at every rally. I really don't really like protests or rallies. It's not who I am. But Pax is a good enough guy. I was going to be there to film something anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll go up and say a few words about how I feel about Sharia law. The Islamberg thing came up when a couple guys I happened to meet were telling me you should bring the Proud Boys to our ride for Islamberg, where we have, a lot of bikers for Trump and guys on motorcycles, guys in trucks, soccer moms, all sorts of different walks of life, different types of people are going to drive through an Islamic, possibly terrorist training camp. I was like, what? Where? Hancock, New York. That doesn't make any sense. In New York, you're telling me that there's a camp where they train to shoot, they do military maneuvers, Yes. They have women living on there with them, they have children there with them, and they also have like gun ranges that they set up. It's in the middle of many acres of woods, and it's owned by Sheikh Mubarak al-Galanti from the Jamaat al-Fukra terrorist network in Pakistan. This is a man who believes he's a direct descendant of Muhammad. He thinks that he, at night, descends into heaven and talks to Jesus and Muhammad and Moses. He thinks he could fly. He thinks that he is God. He essentially isn't even running anything remotely Islamic. He's running a cult in the middle of the woods. Mm-hmm. And who he recruits for his cult are mostly people who get out of Rikers Island in New York, which is the prison there. And it's a lot of black people because it's a lot of like the black Muslim converts, people who are very dangerous, people who are very knowledgeable of weapons. And then he corrals them onto a thing, and he has, I want to say possibly 23 of these, but sometimes I get a little confused with numbers. But it's over 20 of these camps around the U.S., a lot on the East Coast. I think there's 2 in Michigan. I think there might even be 1 in Texas. And 1 in Colorado in the early 90s actually got busted, where they found a lot of spooky shit in there. And a month before we were set to go, a guy got arrested. His name was Ramadan Abdullah or something like that. He got arrested about 30 minutes from Islamberg. He has ties and connections to Islamberg. He has a mailbox at Islamberg. And they found in his storage unit he had a lot of military-grade weapons. He had grenades. He had small arms. He had big-ass fucking guns. It was a feather in the cap of I guess the state police must have busted him. But they were like, look what we found. Holy shit. And and one of those things, like, immediately, this guy, from what we heard, because we were talking to the state cops up there and we were in communication, the words that were said was, he said, I needed them because of an upcoming biker rally that's coming through Islamberg, which would have been us. And I said, well, fuck this, man. We're going in. Like, it's one of those things, like, I'm the guy that, my biggest pet peeve in life, fuck politics, fuck everything else. My biggest pet peeve in life is I do not let crazy people make the rules. I don't let somebody who's fucked up in the head or has bad ideas or is mentally ill tell me, you better not do that. And I don't go, oh, okay, I better not. So when they tell me, yeah, we'll fucking kill you and we'll put you on a list and we'll do this and we'll do that if you come through Islamberg, my thought is, it's a public road. I'm driving down a fucking public road. If you want to stop me, do whatever you're going to do. I didn't come with any weapons on me. I think we had some ex-cops and ex-military come with us, but we really, we alerted the police and we told them we're going to be quiet about it. We're going to be peaceful. We're not here to scare anyone. And if they'd like to join us and have a conversation with us, we'd be happy to talk to anybody who has any questions for us. We were greeted by a couple dudes in fatigues taking pictures of us who followed us all the way to the rendezvous point outside and waited for each and every one of us to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the video and, like, y'all drive through, like, the heart of their compound or whatever, and it's, like, the eeriest shit, and, like, alarms are going off, and there's people in the woods watching, and this is just, I mean, we're not talking about Pakistan, we're talking about New York.
Look up Jamal El-Fukra. Look up Galanti. Galanti had a reporter from the Wall Street Journal beheaded. Claims it wasn't him. He says, matter of fact, this was the quote. He goes, well, yeah, he was on his way to interview me, and my people picked him up, and yes, he ended up being beheaded, but I didn't order him to be beheaded, but I do think he was a CIA assassin sent to kill me. Right. Yeah. Right. Muslims of America is their front organization for Jamaat al-Fukra. The more you go down the rabbit hole with this shit, the more you go, oh my fucking God. And then people go, well, they're peaceful people, and they're sitting there, and they're law-abiding, and this and that. And it's like, right. They're also a terror cell waiting for orders to do whatever. Oh, by the way, they're also right next to a reservoir that supplies New York City with, I think, like a third of its drinking water. Think maybe you want to take a peek inside there. And by the way, I just saw an article on Breitbart, which apparently they're under investigation now.
That's good, at least.
Yeah, so maybe I'm not such a fucking whack job after all.
Yeah, but you can't assume bad things about Muslims. I mean, that's Islamophobic, and
I guess so.
That's racism, and
I guess so.
You know, automatically.
It's funny. My housemate said to me the other day, he was talking about Trump moving the, and I don't know much about the Israeli situation, so I'm really not an expert, and I can't speak for it. But he said something about the Jerusalem being recognized as the new capital, and he's like, ooh, people are going to be mad. I'm like, well, why worry about that? They're the religion of peace. Don't call them violent or they'll kill you. And, you know, man, it's like if most Muslims are peaceful, good, let's count on them, and why don't you motherfuckers speak up a little bit more and clean up your own? Because when Catholic priests molest little fucking boys, Catholics spoke louder than anybody else and put a fucking stop to that shit. And I would expect the same from any other religion. If there's an issue, if there's a weird thing happening in your religion, you need to fucking correct that. And unfortunately, it seems, because when you start speaking to more Islamic people and Muslim people, and just ask them straight up, non-judgmental questions about who they are and what they believe. The thing with Islam is it's not about really a religion. It's about a whole all-encompassing lifestyle. So if you say there's something wrong with Islam, no, there can't be, because Islam is perfect. It's the perfect way. It's the perfect lifestyle. So if somebody is doing something shitty with Islam, well, they're not really practicing Islam. But everybody thinks that about Islam. Like, so ISIS thinks that secular Muslims in the U.S. aren't really practicing Islam. That's not real Islam, while secular Muslims in the U.S. are looking at ISIS and saying the same exact thing. And ISIS, by the way, is another weird cult. They're not even really Muslim. They pledge allegiance to the leader of ISIS. They don't pledge allegiance to Muhammad. I think they add him in there. But it's just one of those fucked up things that I really, 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 really wish that was something that that the Muslim Americans who love this country would get madder at.
Yeah. And it's crazy, like, you know, in regards to how we talk about Islam, like, we're not even allowed to make, like, common sense policy that would protect us from the possibility of, you know, Islamic terrorism. Like, you look at how everyone freaked out when Trump did the travel ban, what was it, 2 weeks into his administration? Mm-hmm. It was the biggest controversy ever that we're slowing down the admittance of these immigrants. And this was a list that he inherited from the Obama administration, saying these are countries at risk for terrorism. They're
hostile, unstable countries. Forget who is. And matter of fact, I had this argument with somebody who said, well, obviously it's anti-Muslim, obviously it's Islamophobic. And I said, okay, well, but all these countries are war-torn, all these countries are unstable. And he goes, well, so is Venezuela. And I went, so you're saying maybe we should add more countries? Because I'm totally down with that. Let's put more countries on the fucking list. Yeah, you're right. If you have a war-torn, shitty little country who have a bunch of people who, what is it? Something like 90% of them think that, like, suicide bombing, and I'm talking in the Middle East, not U.S. Muslims, but something like suicide bombing is sometimes are often justified. What? Yeah, no, maybe we should keep a fucking eye on that country until their culture changes a little bit, until they grow out of whatever the fuck they... You know, you're going to do what you need to do, which is they're going to have their wars and revolutions and whatnot. Well, let's see how that all turns out before we fucking decide, hey, you know what? We should bring all these people who don't think rape is that big of a deal into the U.S.
Yeah. And, you know, actually, when you mention stuff like, you know, thinking suicide bombing is justified, like the numbers of people that support that, even in the West that are Muslims, is
1 in 4.
Concerningly high. Like I know, yeah,
3%.
They had polling in the United Kingdom that was something like 1 in 3, actually.
Wow. That's
it was something along the lines of like 1 in 3 directly support it, and like another like 1 in 3 indirectly support it, or think that like or whatever. So it was over half at least somewhat supported it.
And here's the thing, man. It's like I heard Gene Simmons in an interview the other day actually say something, because he was born in Israel and his parents are Hungarian, and he said, when it comes to the U.S., nobody has ever dropped to their knees and said, "Thank God, thank God, thank God I'm here in France." But U.S. is unique in that people come from all over the world and they try and make their way here. And it's not that I don't want Muslims in the country. I don't give a fuck what God you fucking believe in. I want you to be the guy who looks around and goes, yeah, I'm Muslim, but wow, this place is fucking great. Look at this place. There's fucking, I could just start my own business. I could start my own business over a weekend. I could open up a sandwich cart or a hot dog cart or whatever and be a vendor on the streets in New York. And by the way, those hot dog truck vendors make fucking bank. It's like something like $100,000 a year. And it's like I could open up a clothing store. I could open up a fucking, shoe store, whatever, and rent a little kiosk somewhere, put some money down, do this, build my life, get a house, get some people to work for me. You could do that here. You can't do that in Iran. That's why they come here. And I understand that. The problem is we can't just let people in who think, oh, well, I'll go there and it'll be okay because I can get on food stamps and they're going to offer me assistance and this and that. We need the people who want to start a fucking business. We need the people who appreciate the U.S. for what it is and immediately become proud Americans. I mean, I said it in my speech at the March Against Sharia. What you have to understand about my family is they came to this country at, around the turn of the century from Italy through like Ellis Island when they did the quick migration thing. And they came here, they built the Brooklyn Bridge, they built the Pulaski Skyway, they built the Holland Tunnel, they built the Lincoln Tunnel. They helped contribute and put all this together. And then they had kids, and then they sent their kids across the Atlantic Ocean to kill Italians.
Yeah.
That's what an American is. And I'm talking about like my great-grandparents who barely spoke any fucking English. I never met them, but they barely spoke any English from what I understood. And they knew. It wasn't like, ooh, Italy's on the other side. We don't know who we're loyal to. No, they knew who they were loyal to. They were like, I made my life in the fucking U.S. And yeah, I still have family over there. But you know what? Get a fucking gun, put on a uniform, go over there and shoot Italians in the fucking head because they're spitting on this country because they want to do their fascist bullshit. And at the end of the day, that's going to fucking oppress the people I care about back in Italy more than anything else. So you go and fight for the world's freedom, and that's exactly what they did. That's what a fucking American is.
Yeah. But it's funny, like, we talk about the issues of immigration in this country, and we've just reached a point where you're not allowed to have any sort of standards whatsoever. We have, one of the best real estate as far as the country is concerned. We could demand any standard, and people would meet it. But, the conversation about immigration, it's become a religion for the people on the left where you're not allowed to question it. And that's why it's so good that Donald Trump is actually, spoken up for this stuff. And he's the only person that, has actually talked about this stuff. Because, being someone that lives in Texas, this affects us, greatly.
Well, that's the point that, I never really thought about illegal immigration as that bad of an issue. When Donald Trump started talking about it, I thought about it. And I thought to myself, well, by the time, a Mexican guy gets up to New Jersey, he's usually just the guy who's, helping on a construction site, or he's the guy, washing dishes and, oh, who's he hurting and everything like that. And I totally get that. And I've worked with guys like that, and they've always been pretty good guys. The problem is, it's because it's by the time they made it to New Jersey, they're motivated enough to just be the guy who wants to work. The guy's right on the border in Texas. It's I have no place to speak of oh, you should let them in. It's well, but no, you're right there. You're right where the cartel territory is. You're right where it's there's people who come in, and I have friends in Louisiana who say, yeah, if we don't lock the shed at night, just Mexicans who just cross the border will take everything we have.
Yeah.
and not even think about it. That's just a reality. They didn't say that because they don't like Mexicans or they do like Mexicans. The reality of their life is if we don't nail everything down, it will be taken in the morning. So that's something where it's like, yeah, okay. Well, maybe I don't understand it as good as I thought. Maybe Donald Trump does kind of have his finger on the pulse. And again, what I like about what he says is he doesn't give a shit if you like or dislike what he says. He's not Hillary Clinton waiting for something to get to 61% of the polls before he has an idea. He just says, this is what works. This is what isn't going to work. Let's do what works. And then people fucking hate his guts for saying that. And that's why he has the approval ratings he does, but somehow he still wins.
Who knows? But, you know, when you talk about how we're affected here on the border, like, take, for example, like Austin, Texas. When this administration first started off, they used to, like, give out the declined detainer reports. And Austin's a sanctuary city, so that means declined detainer, it means they're not upholding, like, an ICE detainer placed on illegal aliens. Right. And you look at all the crimes, they don't do this anymore, but you look at all the crimes that they're doing in a place like Austin, like, you'd see every single week, there'd be, like, 15 drunk drivings, there'd be multiple assaults, there'd be multiple robberies, right. And it just takes one of these people, you know, acting insane that shouldn't be here, and they'll kill someone, and I don't see how you can justify this.
Well, not to mention the most well-behaved illegal immigrant on the face of the earth is still here illegally. Like, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, if they were all well-behaved and amazing and their crime rates were incredibly low and they were just adding a net positive and no negative, no drawback whatsoever, they're still technically committing a crime. I just saw one of the girls, I have people who follow me around like I'm an alien or a diseased chimp or something and just study me. And one of these girls from Columbia University, and I just saw on her Instagram, she was posting, I guess there was a big rally in D.C. about DACA, some shit like that. And she was like, yes, the dreamers are coming, and Trump's trying to stop dreamers from coming to the United States. It's like, so basically what you're saying is we're the only country on earth that doesn't have a right to recognize its own borders.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up. It's like, if somebody crosses the border illegally, they're now a dreamer, and we owe them something. And it's like, no, it's goes back to what Kennedy said, ask not for what your country could do for you, but for what you could do for your country. These people come here and they say, what could this country do for me? And they're not saying, hey, what can I do? What can I build? Where can I work? A lot of them do work. And I'm not saying that no illegal immigrant works and they're all on drugs and they're all doing this, but the whole thing, they realize the loophole is, hey, all we got to do is plop a baby out across the border and suddenly we just get to sit back and collect welfare our whole fucking lives. We get to sit back and fucking, collect food stamps and the baby gets free education. That's an American right there. You can't send the parents back. So then it becomes a bleeding heart liberal sob story of like, you're tearing families apart, you can't do this. And it's like, well, you think you're up to some fucking chicanery and we caught you doing it. So this is why we're doing what we're doing, and go fuck yourself. And it has nothing to do with their dreams or their hopes. It's like, get in line and wait with everyone else. For example, if you work at a McDonald's, they might give you some free fries every now and then. Can I get free fries at McDonald's? No. Why not? Because I don't fucking work there. So you get special benefits to working at McDonald's. Welcome to fucking McDonald's. This is our country. You don't just get to walk up to it and go, but you get to eat for free here. You get all the benefits. You get all the perks. Yeah, I fucking do. You got to get a job here first, you fuckface. You have to interview. You have to apply. You got to have a friend. You got to know someone. And then once you're in, then you get the benefits. It's not that fucking hard of a concept. It's been going on since the beginning of time.
Or, you talk to these liberals about their stance on immigration, and you just say to them, well, you have borders around your home that are walls. Like, why don't you just keep your door open, let anyone come in? Like, why do you hold this standard for your home that you don't think should be applied to the country?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because they all have, and I am discouraging, I'm going around the country, and I'm going to discourage as many people as I possibly can from going to fucking college, because there are certain thoughts, like the anti-border thing, that are so stupid they could only come from college. Because somewhere along the line, we went from learning how to be a lawyer, a doctor, and math, and shit like that, and then if you didn't want to do that, you went to like a trade school, or you became an apprentice, and you learned a skill, and then carried that with you, and then taught other people the skill that you know. Somehow, now we went from that to, I don't know, man. There's no borders. I both exist and don't exist on the same plane. I'm every gender and no gender all at once. It's like, that's not an education. You're a fucking idiot. You're not learning anything. You're paying someone crazy amounts of money to teach you a language that no one speaks but you and the other people in your class. And then you come here and spit it in my face and say, you have to be more open-minded and judge me. And really, when people victimize themselves like that, and they love doing it because it gives them an excuse to be a shitty person to everybody else who isn't like them.
Yeah. No, me and Bobby are both extremely anti-college. Just people that, have gone through college.
As someone who's graduating a week from tomorrow, I hate college. I hate it.
What did you major in?
Accounting.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's at least something that you can use.
Exactly. So, but still, I completely agree with you. College, it's terrible. It really is.
Wasted time, wasted money. You don't need to. Most people don't need it. So that's when they're like, well, the key to. By the way, I live in the hood. I live in the ghetto. These people, when you look around, they don't need college to get out of their situation. Like, you can put them through every gender studies class in the world. They're not going to suddenly become millionaires the next day. What's going to make them millionaires is teach them how to become plumbers. Teach them how to put up drywall. Teach them how to, the difference between galvanized piping and, something, copper piping, whatever. Teach them all this fucking shit. And then suddenly now, like a plumber can make like $500,000 a year. That's insane. Like, fucking teach them a skill. And once they learn the skill, then they could actually they'll be in a position where maybe their kids want to be a lawyer. And now they could put their kid through law school with their plumber money. Maybe their kid wants to be a neurosurgeon. And that gets them out of the hood. Rather than say, don't gentrify the hood. Don't have, we can't put white people in the hood like me. I'm a gentrifier, according to them. And it's like, well, God forbid. Okay, so we used to have a policy like that in the U.S. It was called Jim Crow segregation, where we had separate sections for separate people. I'm not for that. I'm of the mind of you should live wherever you want, no matter what the color of your skin is, and they shouldn't have to hold the fucking Sherwin-Williams paint chart up to your fucking arm before they decide if you get a house or don't. That being said, free college would do nothing but make everybody's college degree fucking worthless. Yeah. And college degrees are already fucking worthless. But you know what's not worthless? Learning how to fix a fucking engine.
Yeah.
Because then when the college guy, when his engine breaks, and you go, you'll be the guy sitting there going, yeah, I'm sorry, that's $700. And they're going, fuck. But guess what? They pay it because they need a fucking car to get to their horrible college, to sit and hear what a horrible person and how dumb you are because you didn't go to college.
And it's funny, they talk about places that do offer free college, like Sweden. I have family in Sweden. And, people go to college to a lesser degree there than they do in the United States. There's more opportunity to go to college here than there because you have to only get it on your test grades there.
Right. Well, also keep in mind, Columbia University, and I have those two girls tailing me from Columbia. They're nice people. It's an Ivy League school. It's the school that Chelsea Clinton went to. It's the school Mattress Girl went to. But when I talk to these fucking girls, wow, they're not blowing my mind. Like, I could destroy them in any debate about any subject, and I really truly feel like the only thing they could do is disregard my statement and just keep repeating. Like, they'll say something like, but why do you want all women to be housewives? And I'll go, I don't. And then 15 minutes later, like, but I don't think all women should be housewives. And I'm like, I never said they should. But I said we should venerate housewives. We should honor housewives. If a woman wants to stay home and raise her own family, we think that's good. Why can't the man stay home? Shut the fuck up with your fucking horse shit. Because over fucking 300,000 years of human mental evolution, we realize that men can't have babies. So women are more pre-designed and predetermined, whether it be in their bodies and their brains and their patience and all the special things that make a woman is special and good and worth preserving, in my opinion. And to take a man who, honestly, the best feeling you could have as a man is going out and providing for your family, going out and being decisive, going out and fucking saying, I did this, I put a house, I put a roof over your head, I did this, I did that. I'm not saying my family doesn't do it, the woman goes out. My dad always stayed home. I can't tell you what's best for you. That's why I'm a libertarian. I don't know what's best for everybody. But I'm saying if a woman chooses and says, I'm not going to take my pointless $350 a week marketing job, and I'm not going to pay $350 a week to a nanny to raise my kids. Instead, we're going to save that money. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to watch my own fucking kids. I'm not going to do some pointless job that I'm miserable at. And I'm going to make sure that the next generation goes okay and they're not all on Ritalin and fucking ADD medication. That's exactly what you should do. And then after that explanation that I just told you, that will be disregarded. And the only way they just go, but why do you think it should be all women? And it's like, so you're not that smart. And you go to Columbia. You go to an Ivy League school. You could be like the president if you go to Columbia. But how come I'm lighting you up in the field of intellectual debate when I'm some fucking douchebag punk rocker from New Jersey? You should be way smarter than me. Way. I should be blown away. You go to Columbia. Oh my God. You go to fucking $1,000 an hour classes. I should be sitting there like studying you. I should be like, teach me something. And they know nothing that you can't learn from watching Rachel Maddow and repeating after her, watching the Young Turks, watching Bill Maher, watching John Oliver. They just say the same points. And when you raise your hand and go, actually, there's a counterpoint to that, they start shaking and glaring at you and they get all triggered. So it's like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't see why it's necessary for everyone to do that. For example, I'm a journalist and I get paid from time to time to be a fucking journalist. There's plenty of people who went to journalism school who do not get paid. You know how many journalism classes I've taken? That's how fucking many. All I did was write about shit I was curious about and ask people fucking questions and write it down and say, hey, do you want to run that in your magazine? And people said, hey, I'm entertained by you. I like your fucking shit. So why are you going to school to be a fucking journalism major? Just go out and ask people fucking questions and ask magazines if they want to run your questions and then find somebody who will fucking pay you one day. I don't know.
Professional question askers.
Yeah. And it's not that fucking hard. It really isn't. Like, all you have to do is be curious and shut your fucking mouth and let the subject talk and maybe try and learn something from it. And these people go to college and school and they're studying why I'm a piece of shit. And I'm sitting there just laughing in their face like, why do you think that, like, having a traditional family is evil or bad? And they're like, oh, so have a mom and a dad and a 2.4 kids. And I'm just like, what cartoonish version of the world is in your head at all times? Because it's not in my fucking head. I don't know what you're thinking. Like, you have to reinvent the family in order to have like a good life. And yes, that's what they were taught. They were also taught the reason they need to go to work is because they're like, look how happy it makes a man and how satisfied he is by putting a roof over his family's head. You'll be equally satisfied. I've had female bosses. I've had male bosses. I've never had a female boss who wasn't miserable being the boss. Miserable. Take that for what it is. It's anecdotal. I didn't do a fucking poll. I didn't sit down and hook up fucking electrodes to this bitch's head. All I know is every female boss I've ever had hates being in charge for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny when you bring up, like, the whole feminism thing. Like, they have studies on this. Like, the psychological satisfaction of a good marriage is, like, the equivalency of making like $100,000 a year. So like, even if you get a job, like, unless you're making tons of money, like, you'll never outperform the satisfaction psychologically that just being married would do for you. Now, I don't know what the equivalency for having children would be, but I could easily say you'll never get the same amount of satisfaction from a job you will just have from family. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, that's the thing as men that historically we've always done. We're the guys who go out and kill the fucking lion and bring it home, and the women stay behind. They teach the kids and raise them and get the new generation ready to inherit the fucking world. But for whatever reason, we're told, no, your pointless marketing job is way more important than that. You should have a job as a social media expert, and you should go there every day where you... By the way, have you ever met a woman who doesn't have some other girl she works with who she cannot fucking stand? They all hate some other girl who fucking works there, and they're miserable, and they come home, and they're like, oh my God, my job fucking sucks. And it's like, yes, it's because we've told women that the most important thing you could be is out for yourself. The most important thing isn't forming a family and recognizing what a man and appreciating what the man in your life does for you. No, fuck him, because I could do the same thing. And then all it's done is cut the balls off of men. It's made children insane because now they have to be pumped full of medication, which I cannot stand. It breaks my heart to hear that like kids are all being diagnosed with some mythical disease that nobody and everybody have at the same fucking time. And it fucks them up forever. And then you get a guy like fucking Dylan Roof, who's on medication his whole life. You get a guy like any of these shooters who fucking, you always find out, what meds are they on? Oh, they've been on ADHD meds since they were a kid. And for whatever reason, now they don't have any feelings about murdering someone in front of everybody. Go fucking figure. Again, I'm not a doctor. I didn't do the fucking homework. But Jesus Christ, I have 2 eyes and common sense. And I sit there and I go, maybe you should study that a little bit. Maybe take a fucking quick peek and see if you're fucking up all the kids because no one wants to stay home. And when a boy, for heaven forbid, act like a little boy and he's rambunctious, we go, well, he has ADHD. He needs to be put on fucking pills. It's like, no, give him a fucking axe and teach him how to cut wood or some shit.
Or that's just shunned now because, toxic masculinity. Which, that's the one thing, like, I respect a lot about the Proud Boys. It's like, you guys embrace masculinity in like an era where you're not supposed to do that, and it attracts people to you because you do it.
Yeah, especially our gay guys. They embrace masculinity in the biggest way I could think so. And yes, you're right, because we're again, nothing I said in this whole interview I feel isn't a common sense thing and isn't just a kind of blatant fact, but it's like, oh, well, you must hate women. It's like, I fucking love women, dude. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I mean, shit. Here's one. I'm just talking about. This is the Let's Talk Shit About Columbia University show. We're talking about gender roles and shit, and we said, well, there's certain things that men do that women don't do, and there's certain things that women are awesome at that men aren't as good at, and that's kind of why the gender roles have become the gender roles. Women were never awesome at building pyramids, and we were like, get back, you bitch, get in the kitchen and raise the babies. They were never amazing warriors kicking every man's ass, and somehow we subjugated them and tricked them and put them in a fucking hole and put dirt over it and said, no woman shall fight ever again. It's like, no, men are better at certain things, women are better at another. So we brought up the scenario to this college chick. You're laying in bed with your boyfriend. You hear a noise at the door like someone's breaking in. You hear voices, sounds threatening, you don't know what's going on. Which one of you two is going up to investigate the sound? She told me, well, me and my boyfriend would come to a mutual decision about who's going to investigate the sound. And if he wanted to go and put himself in danger and see what was going on at the door, I would allow him to do that. And I went, oh, how nice of you. You'll allow him. You'll let him get shot by the Manson family trying to break into the door. What a good girlfriend you are. You'll let him. Your feminist ways will allow this man to put his life on the line for you at 3 a.m. in his fucking pajamas and bare feet holding a fucking baseball bat. Oh, what a fucking gem you are coming to that mutual decision. I allowed him to change my oil today. Wow, that's really nice of you. I never understood it when women acted like they needed to find a really special guy to give them anal. Like, really? So the gift that you're going to give me is your stink hole. Your shit pipe is going to be the thing I have to earn my worthiness of to put my face in. Oh, thank you so much, princess. Jesus Christ, man. These women have fucking lost their goddamn minds in the last 40 years, and I think people like the Proud Boys because we just call it out and say it right, and they fucking feel stupid because we're laughing at them.
Yeah. Or, you don't even need it. There's a lot simpler ways that you can find gender roles, like who's going to open the jars?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Absolutely. But it's complimentary.
How about if there's a spider in the bathtub, who's going to kill it?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen? That's why the Ghostbusters movie didn't fucking work, because we've all seen how women act when there's a bug in the house. You think they're going to go after ghosts? Women aren't naturally predisposed to being like, let's get together and fight spooky evil things. I used to have a girlfriend who swore that the apartment that I lived in for 7 years was haunted. Spoiler, it isn't. None of them are. She used to call me and tell me to come home from work early because the apartment's haunted and I had to fight a ghost. I'm like, I don't think I could tell my fucking boss that. And she would be mad at me. I'm like, if I tell my boss there's ghosts in the house and I am the key, like I'm going to get there and what am I going to do? Go away. Matter of fact, I just stayed at my cousin's place in Virginia, and he was telling me the place is old, the place is haunted, it's like a 150-year-old house or something like that. And I called the ghosts a cocksucker, and I dared them to come get me in the middle of the night. I said, if you are a ghost, come and fucking get me, you miserable piece of shit ghost. You suck as a ghost. I don't respect you. I don't respect this house. I spit on the house you're protecting, and I dare you to find me in the middle of the night. I slept like a fucking rock.
It's funny stuff. But, you're talking about Columbia, since I guess we're shitting on Columbia. Is there more, aspects of it that you know? Because I don't know anything about Ivy League. I mean, we just go to a public school.
I know that the more Ivy League an institution is, the more likely they are to protest you. Mm. It almost is like they have to justify being as highfalutin as they believe that they are. I mean, the great Thomas Sowell, fucking amazing writer, went to Harvard, I may have went to MIT. I don't know. I'm bad with college names because I'm not a fucking college guy. But he talks all the time about how better off certain people would be not going to an Ivy League school and going to a school that would actually teach them something. And yes, there are certain people that go to Stanford and go to wherever, Harvard, go to Princeton, Yale, and all that shit. And he's like, but there's definitely certain people that would not excel there. They're not cut out for it, but they, for whatever reason, believe I need to get into this school, otherwise I'm worthless, I'm this, I'm that. And you're really not learning much more of anything. It's more like, it's almost like buying a pair of jeans, but you're doing it for the label, so you're paying an extra $500 for them or something like that. That's how I feel about Ivy League schools. I feel like, for the most part, they're overcharging them a lot of money to teach them nothing more than what you learn anywhere else, or what you can learn on your own if you're really that curious about it. I mean, there's only so many things you can learn about, There are so many ways you can learn about something, and I really don't feel, unless you're becoming a lawyer or a doctor or something very specialized, I really don't feel that it's as necessary as they think. And I think that it's really more to put the badge on your sleeve and say, I went to Columbia University, and a lot less what you're going to get out of the experience.
Yeah. So you say you're also a filmmaker. Could you tell us about some of the work you've done with that?
Yeah, I've been a filmmaker since I was 13 years old, and that's my chief and primary profession that I do. So I've done a lot of different short films and whatnot, but I mean, the primary thing that I did a few years back was a film called Living the American Nightmare, and that was about kind of dark metal and death rock in that scene. So the guys from the Misfits, Typo Negative, Black Sabbath, Bouncing Souls, bands like that ended up in my film. And I talked about how all these guys who, are on stage and have this moment in their career all end up delivering mattresses, or all end up miserable, or they get to a place where they think they want everything and they get everything they want, and it just doesn't turn out the way they want it to. So I focused on a guy who sang for the Misfits for just one summer, and that was his favorite band ever, and he ended up singing for them, and it wasn't what he thought it would be. So I ended up making that documentary, and I'm also putting together another documentary about a family member I have. It's called Savage. It's about bikers. He was a biker. He belonged to a motorcycle club, and he was also a photographer for National Geographic. So I never met him. He was my uncle. He got shot in the back of the head in the woods in 1977. They identified him by his teeth and his belt buckle. So all that's left are the photography that he left behind. Mostly that was on slides. So we had to get a slide converter. Mm-hmm. And now we're putting something together where he went to Antarctica 3 times. He went to New Zealand. He went to all these places in South America, took the most beautiful pictures you'll ever see in your life. Some of them were published in National Geographic. But when he'd come home, he wanted to be an outlaw, and he wanted to ride motorcycles and run with his whole crew, and it ended up costing him his life in 1977.
That is very interesting. Wouldn't think a biker would go to Antarctica.
Right, he was a complicated guy, and he's probably the most interesting family member I've ever heard of. Because, he's some biker dude who's doing all the things you would imagine an outlaw biker doing. And then, on his off time, he's taking pictures of seals on an iceberg.
Well, I hope that goes well for you.
Thank you.
We kind of gotta close this out. But there was one more thing that I wanted to ask, and how do you think Donald Trump's done so far as president?
I think he's done a lot better than a lot of people have expected him to. And I don't think that and nothing with Donald Trump has been a smooth ride. So he's not that glassed, finished, polished surface where everything just goes and he's slick. But he gets his hands dirty and he does keep his promises. He's working hard, that's for sure. No one could say he's being lazy. He is signing those fucking executive orders, and he's coming up with shit, whether you agree with it or not. He's trying to implement the things that he feels is right for this country. So I applaud him on that, and I guess only time will tell. I mean, I hope we're not in a nuclear war with Palestine. I don't think we will be. I think that shit goes on behind the scenes that both you and I aren't privy to. So I'm not thrilled about stuff like that. I'm not thrilled about getting involved in other countries at all, to be honest with you. But I think that for the most part, he has done a very decent job, particularly being that the bar was set so fucking low. Hey, I believe he's gotten rid of $3 trillion of the deficit so far. I'll take that as a victory.
Yeah.
No president in the last 30 years has even given a shit about that. And he went ahead and he's already chiseling away in the first year. I'll fucking take it.
Yeah, there's so many aspects of his presidency so far that he's done extremely well on, but, it just doesn't make it into the general public. They don't talk about it on TV. They just want to talk about something
Unemployment's
else.
at a 17-year low right now. The market is fucking booming right now. They all, I love that too. They all said the day Donald Trump takes office, the market's going to crash, and the market rose higher than ever. Oh, he's too unpredictable. It's going to crash when he takes the oath. He takes the oath. Market a year later is still high, and then they go, well, it's Obama's market. Really? Because I thought it was going to crash 100 times in a row. Didn't you? Weren't you, Huffington Post? Weren't you the one saying it was going to crash? Didn't you say that this is all going to be the worst disaster ever? And then when it isn't, you go, well, it's because of Obama. Yeah, sure it is.
Well, they also say Hillary was going to win, so what's their credibility?
Yeah, that's what I said immediately after the election. I'm like, aren't you the people who said Hillary by double digits? Why don't we listen to my fucking people for a little while?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll close it out now, but thank you for letting us talk to you, Paul.
Phenomenal, anytime.
Yeah. We'll look to in the future talk to you again. It was a pleasure.
A lot of fun, man, for sure.
We'll let you go to the bathroom, but
sure.
Have a good one.
And if anyone wants to see where our stuff is, check out officialproudboys.com. We have a Patreon at Patreon/Proud Boy Magazine. You can follow me on Twitter at Pawl Bazile, PAWLBAZILE. Thanks a lot, guys.
We'll put the link in the description, too. So,
looking good. I appreciate that.
Right.
Take it easy, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Have a good one.